just a common man, but I got enough knowledge to know at 150 miles an hour, you're going to jump a 10-foot berm. And you're going to careen right into the house at the south end. That is a hairpin curve. That's insane. You think anybody's going to buy a house along that track, be it on the outside of a track? That's crazy. This whole thing is crazy. They're about houses, right? You have to look at your plan. You see what I'm saying?
300, yes, sir.
Okay, 300. Now, for one thing, are you going to build any houses on that property? In other words, at your cost, are you going to put in some housing before this project goes forward, or do you want to put the racetrack in, and then when the housing fails, you're going to say, oh, my bad, this thing failed, and you're going to go public with this racetrack? Where is the housing going to be? You honestly think people are going to buy houses on that track?
Yes.
You do. I got a bridge in Brooklyn you could buy real cheap, and that's what you think.
Well, or do you have previous developments that we can contact people to see how they like their results?
Previous developments, yes. We've never done.
Can you give us locations, addresses, contacts, or we can call and find out what a fun thing this is for everybody that lives in that area? Because we don't know. We're thinking it's not a good thing. But if you could actually tell us some locations where you have developed this before in other areas.
Develop the same.
It's ongoing, that we can contact. You
Yeah.
can find out if it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, this could be the Garden of Eden, but I don't think so.
We have not developed one of these before.
It's the first.
That's correct.
And you're developing it this.
Fire protection, law enforcement, and maintenance of the access roads, the permitting, the Environmental Protection Agency, and etc. That's the basics before you even do anything here. These things have to be worked out. Who's going to provide it? Who's going to pay? What's going to happen?
What kind of horsepower is these cars going to be running? Third question is, how many cars are going to get on that track at one time? I used to run race cars myself, and I know how big engines make a lot of noise, even mufflers, so I'm concerned about that.
The first question concerning hours, we're not planning any lighting for the track. So at the most extreme, any hours that it would be running would be daylight hours.
And 7 days a week, in other words.
Yes, sir. Keep in mind that it's a members-only track, and that there's 600 members, none of which, or very few of which, would be living here. So the use on these tends to be fairly sporadic, just like it is on a private golf course.
How many engines are going to be running on there at one time?
It would be hard to say. There's a safety concern when we talk about, depending on what the configuration of the track is. Based on, we've not gone through that exercise, but based on other tracks I've been to, usually they cut that off at about 20 to 25 vehicles.
Are these engines going to have mufflers on them?
Yes, sir. The other things that really attracts us to the site is this is one of the few sites available that has topography. And it's got topography because of what the now defunct golf course did to develop the fairways and etc. So one of our first steps in the planning process of putting together the driving course was basically taking the aerials of the existing golf course, or the previous golf course, and where those existing kind of fairways, where that all laid, and we laid as much of the course as possible on that to preserve.
One of the things in that was that you had plans for public events, and you also had possible sites for RVs and things like that. So I also looked up one of the other the site you had that you don't have, but the site that exists in Joliet, Illinois, and they have plans if yours is gonna be like that with your public, races. They have, 8 o'clock to 5:35 of continuous racing, with a very similar course that you have. None of the other courses that I checked out, residences anywhere near the facilities, and they do seem, this site seems to be, if it's going to be similar to yours, on those public races, we'll be bringing people in and to view the races. And we're talking, what, 7 days a week? So you're in agreement with that?
Well, I'm not sure which one was the question.
It's a comment question. Are you similar to that? Are you going to be doing that kind of activity?
No, Joliet is actually designed as a racetrack, not as a driving course. They do have residential around them. But they do go out and try to encourage and get racing events at their facility, which is not something that we would do. We were asked early on in the planning process to provide access for local people to be able to somehow have access where they could come and watch the vehicles going around.
Glades County does have a nuisance ordinance, and if noise becomes a nuisance, it is part of our nuisance ordinance. In fact, we've had people from Washington Park come to us complaining about the loud boom boxes, and we have agreed to look at our nuisance ordinance to maybe better determine what noise levels do constitute nuisance. Now, I will tell you this: if you come to our meetings and behave like you did tonight, I'm sorry, you will not be able to stay in the room. We expect decorum and respect for every speaker, and you would have your opportunity. It will be a public hearing. You are certainly welcome. I'm sure you're all aware that the legislature is making new rules about public access to speak at a meeting. Glades County has already recognized that. We do have a policy in place. We give you 3 minutes, but if there are a group that have the same concerns, we would hear one person address those concerns. So what I'm going to suggest to you, and I have brought a list for you, that you contact planning commissioners, administrative staff, and the county commissioners. I've got their address, phone numbers, email address. Let them know your concerns. If you will give me your questions, I will make sure they were asked and answered. Believe me, I'm known for asking questions. So, like I said, I have none tonight myself, and I do care. I care very much for our Hendry County people as well as Glades County. Thank you.
As a consensus, we all have to agree that noise seems to be the biggest issue for most of the community. So if you conduct studies and things like that, maybe by next month when you have your meetings, people will be more satisfied. But right now, most of us live in this neighborhood because of the peace and quiet and the beautiful oak trees. So I think if your organization focuses on that and can prove that it's not going to be an issue, that would be one thing. And as for all of us, I think you were very brave to come out here tonight. So thank you for answering our question.